Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast. So it's just me talking. Normally I'd say games, movies and TV and something from the week, but I can tell you for a fact, in this episode, there's a lot less games, movies and TV and a lot more something from the week. I apologise if you're here for the entertainment, but, swings and roundabouts. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave any reviews you want to leave and just generally share the podcast around. Please. Right, let's get started. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Hello. How are you doing? You alright? Well, I was about to say, have I got a bumper episode edition podcast, whichever way we're referring to these days. But weirdly, it isn't. Almost no entertainment stuff this week. And I'll get to that, obviously, in the entertainment section. Probably giving you a heads up that if you're here for the entertainment, you're going to be sorely disappointed. A lot more sort of stuff from the week, which again, is one of those. I'm not sure how many people are actually tuning in for the stuff from the week. If you're here for the stuff of the week, boom, loads. Let me reposition and grab a delicious beverage of the many that I brought with me. Here we go. Delicious beverage in hand. Lemony. Terrible idea. I've had 3 lemon things back to back, and it's amazing how quickly you get bored of lemon. So, for every parent out there, it is the summer holidays. I told, how do I categorize it these days? I told my older children, I told my daughters that I would arrange them to do something in the holidays where they could invite a friend. Multitude of different reasons for this. So, narrowed it down to particular friends, invited those friends, some couldn't make it, invited other friends could make it, bing bang boom, job's done. I said we would do an activity. When I looked at all the available activities we could do, some of the activities were so incredibly priced that it was you couldn't fathom the concept of even thinking about doing it. It's like, how do these places make any money? I looked at the same place today just to double check a price thing. And from what I could tell, they have so many available spaces for so many times of the day. And from what I could tell, they still had all their available spaces available. And all I could think was, I'm not surprised. How have you not worked this one out yet? So we narrowed it down. It was like, do we go to the cinema? Do we go bowling, mini golf, trampolining, all these sorts of things? Narrowed it down to bowling, which was one of those things. I've taken the older two bowling a few times. I'm sure I've talked about it before. My youngest daughter's never been, so that would be an experience for her. And for want of a better way of putting it, it was coming out insanely priced compared to everything else. Everything else was bordering on hundreds or going into the hundreds, whereas this was like it was crazy money. It's like you can bring like 6 people and you can have 2 games and it's reasonable. Like, sold. So the only one of my children that wasn't bringing a friend was my youngest daughter, because her little group of friends, they go to preschool / nursery every day, or certainly the day that we were going. Now I know what you're thinking. I thought you said it was holidays. It is, but like preschools and nurseries still operate in the holidays. For anybody that might not know that. So 5 children, 1 adult, time picked, day picked, place picked. What could possibly go wrong? The answer was not much. There was a lot of running around, a lot of like trying to make sure we were there on time and then absolutely fluffing it, but still managing to technically be there on time. So there was that. Managed to get booked in. All of the people were there, ticking loads of boxes at this point in time. They like, we've got you a lane ready. Just go over, do the computery thing, and away you go. Okay. This is all sounding good. It's all sounding great. It's all sounding groovy. We get over there, and you know what's coming. You know what's coming. What's coming is a but. The but in this scenario is that at no point in time did I think what it was going to be like to have 5 girls. I'm not being sexist here in any way. I'm just giving the point that they're all girls. Put all of them together in the same area, in the same environment, a situation that they've certainly, I know from my own experience, my girls were excited. My youngest was experiencing bowling for the first time and just let them loose. It was absolute chaos. I honestly thought that there was a possibility that I was going to have having a heart attack. I was backwards and forwards, picking up bowling balls, putting them on the runner thing for the little ones, making sure that everybody knew whose go it was, making sure one of the other parents had got like water for everyone and drinks and stuff, so that was a big help. And it just absolute chaos and carnage, because ultimately when one person is bowling, 5 people aren't, and when that one person that's bowling is me, by the time I return from having my go, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And don't get me wrong, they're all mostly well-behaved children, and I'm not commenting on other people's children. I'm saying, you know, my children are well-behaved. Some of them when they want to be. And to be fair, they were all very well-behaved. It had the opportunity, it had the possibility of going very wrong. But theoretically it didn't. So far through, the door on the bowling alley got stuck, so they had to move our lanes. It was very busy, but not too busy. We just about managed to work our way through, you know, everybody having the right size. It's not size, it's weight ball. We played 2 games, 6 people. We're doing like a an individual score and a team's. If I'm honest, pretty much went off without a hitch. There was only one thing. I said if they all, did well and they all, played well and kept sort of actually interested, that when we were finished we could go on to some arcades. But my daughter's friends had to leave straight after. So that was kind of that. And in the end, I ended up spending the money that I would have spent on the arcades on getting my daughter some tea. So that was nice. Tea out. Honestly, looking back on it, it was a situation where it could have so easily been so much worse. And I'm not saying it was bad. I consider it to have been quite a good outcome. But very much a situation where it could have been so much worse. I've recently been trying to do my bit for the planet. A little while ago, I was getting coffee. And I'm glad that places have moved away from the plastic straw. But let's face it, the cardboard straw is A, still waste, and B, garbage. I don't mean that in the sense that it's waste. I mean that they're rubbish. And I was looking down at these straws and I was like, I need to do something about this. So I recently purchased a big pack of silicone straws. I was like, right, there we go. Job done. Never have to get cardboard straws again. I'm doing my bit. So, there we go. I recently made another change to move away from single-use plastic. I've heard like all of these variety of different things about single-use plastics recently, and it terrifies me. I'm like, why is this thing? Why are companies not just saying, we don't do that anymore? I was sorting out some recycling earlier, and there was a box that said, there is this packaging is 100% plastic free. I was like, good for you. And it's just, plastic is the absolute worst. So again, trying to move away from it. So quite a long story, which I'll cut down. Went to the cinema. The cinema has a Starbucks attached. Went to get a coffee to help me get through going to the cinema. While I was there, I'm like, whoa, what's this? It's like, because I've been after a reusable cup that will fit a large coffee. And I don't know what the system here is, but they don't exist. And if they do, they're super expensive. And you know the deal. You know how these things work. So I was like, I'm never going to find one. So I'm stood in the queue and I'm like, whoa, what is that? Because that looks to me at a distance like a large reusable cup. I said to the lady, that cup there, is it large and reusable? Will it fit a large coffee? She said, yeah, it will. I was like, okay. So I was like, if I buy that cup, will you put a coffee in it for me? She was like, yeah, I'll wash the cup, I'll put a coffee in it, job done. Cup should have been so much. When she put the whole thing through the till, came out like it was going to cost me £1 more than the cup for the cup and a coffee. I was like, hells yeah. She's like, I don't know if it interests you, but the cup is also colour changing. But it only works with, pretty sure it only works with cold, because it's like a cold coffee reusable cup. I was like, I'm all about this. She's like, oh, the straw changes colour as well. So I'm expecting like, it goes clear to, blue or red or something. No, it's rainbow. So it changes colour, and it doesn't change colour everywhere, but where it does, it changes in different colours. The straw changes colour. This is loads of fun. Just so happened to be in the vicinity of the cinema the next day. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to go back to that Starbucks. I'm going to ask them for the same again, I'm going to get another one of those reusable cups. That way, if me and Leanne are in a situation where we want to go and both get a cold coffee, we can take these cups with us, doing our bit for the planet, go us. I was super happy. I'm like, this is going to be great. So I went. I asked them. They were like, oh, I don't know. Don't know if we've got one. Now, admittedly, I took the one that was on the shelf the night before. I was like, oh, it's just I was in yesterday and you had one and it was there where that sign is. I'm just wondering if you've got another one. Oh, we'll go and have a look. It was very much one of those situations where the person who was serving me really wanted to help me. Anywho, as it was, they managed to track down a cup. I was like, oh, can you put a coffee in there and I'll take it? Yeah, sure. No mention of rinsing it out. So I was like, whichever, cave you've dug that out of, I'll be super happy to, drink whatever dust particles are in that bad boy. Anyway, doesn't matter. So the person serving me told me the price. And I'm guessing I must have got some kind of special discount the night before because it was twice as expensive. That is in no way, shape or form a joke, an exaggeration, or any of the above. It was twice as expensive. The only problem was, they told me the price as I was paying. I was like, what the fuck? And I was about to complain when I worked out that as previously, the cup was so much, and a coffee put in the cup would be X amount. I was like, yay for sustainability. I felt like I needed to sit down. I felt like the person behind the counter should have been wearing a mask and holding a gun. And this is what's wrong. Do you know something? The cup should have been free. This is where the problem comes in. Because nobody wants you to switch to sustainable, because apparently plastic's this mega business. Nobody wants that. It's okay. Yet again, was it second or third year running we've recorded the highest temperature day in history? It's fine. It's all fine. Anyway, had a plan to go to the beach. Now then, got a problem. Things change. Things change since I last went to the beach. Things change. More children, more animals. And herein lies the problem. So, we needed a dog beach. Shortest version of this story is we needed a dog beach. So, for 18 months, been on the search for a dog beach. And you get recommendations here, there and everywhere. Or you can go here, they've got this, they've got that. One of the running themes with dog beaches don't have a lot. And what I mean by that is they don't have many shops, they don't have many, you're not going to find an arcade, struggle to find an ice cream, you might get some chips. So, ended up with a list, and it wasn't a short list, but it was a list of a multitude of different dog beaches, and they all had different things, but we'd never been to any of them. So, one other thing to take into account, the weather on the day that we'd picked to go to the beach was not going to be beach weather. So, you have to do the maths, and we narrowed it down to, as long as we take a coat, as long as we take all the kind of, as long as you take a towel, as long as you don't go with huge expectations, as long as you work on the principle that Every single one of the beaches on this list is a few miles away from each other. Pick one, go. If it's rubbish, go to the next one. If that one's rubbish, go to the next one. So, we picked one. We made a decision. We picked one. We set off. We got there. We didn't know really where we were. Found this tiny car park. Like, there was 4 cars and space for hours, and that was it. It's like, okay. There was a sign, beach this way, with an arrow. Okay. Unload all the people, unload the dog, get the things we need, a bag of stuff, and away we go. So we're walking along those, the cliffs where, not cliffs, kind of cliffs, but not like, I say cliff, you think 200-foot drop. I'm talking cliff with like a 30-foot going down to a 10 sort of foot. One thing that becomes abundantly clear, and the reason that we would pick this one was the person recommended it to me, said, Great Dog Beach, really quiet. I was like, yeah, but how quiet can a dog beach really be? From being up on the hill, the answer was pretty damn quiet. So we go, drop down onto the beach, and it's like, okay, there's very few people here. It is a beach. There is the sea, which my youngest daughter decided was a river. Is this a thing? Now, I'm going to let you know a little secret here. Something I cannot explain, no matter how hard I try. But it is a fact. There is there is a particular item that instantly calms me. And that's wind turbines. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about them. I think they're quite majestic. I think whenever I see them, they calm me. I really like wind turbines. I think that they're an amazing thing. I think they're doing great things for the planet. Going back to the sustainability thing, and I don't know why, but I love wind turbines. If you're looking out at the sea, over to the left, just loads of wind turbines. I'm like, okay. So, not many people. Weirdly, not many dogs. I think we saw maybe 10 dogs the entire time we were there. Not many people. Not many dogs. Wind turbines. The day wasn't terrible. If I'm honest, I wish I'd taken a pair of sunglasses by the time we were leaving. So, the weather's okay. The sea's good. There's good flow. The tide seems to be coming in. Not many people. Not many dogs. Wind turbines. I'm like, where's the catch? It's one of those beaches where it's all like stony, but then it goes to sand, and then you've got the water. It's like, what is happening right now? Like, okay, let's get after it. My dog doesn't like water. I know. Let's take him to the beach, I hear you say. My dog doesn't like water, but he loves the sea. Couldn't get in the freaking thing fast enough. Would have, if I had him on a lead and a good hold on the lead, he would have just gone. I think he was trying to sail somewhere. It was bonkers. We were there. By the time we get anywhere, it's the afternoon. We were there a good couple of hours. My older two spent that entire time in the water and on the beach. My youngest daughter was afraid of the sea in the end. The dog never left the water. And that was that. It was the weirdest situation. It was like, how has this happened? I don't know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, come on then, tell us where it was. No, I will not tell you where it was, because as I've learned from a lot more famous podcasters than me, when you tell people about places, people go. So find it yourselves. I gave you enough information. Find it yourselves. So there. Intend to go back. I was like, do you know something? I think I could move here. This is ticking a lot of boxes for me. I'm going to jump, weirdly, I'm going to jump backwards, and then I'm going to jump forwards. I'll explain. By the time this comes out, both of the things I'm about to talk about will have happened. One has already happened, and one will happen tomorrow. Recorded a podcast last week. And later, after doing the whole podcast thing, I went to bed. I can't remember if it was that night or the next morning. Liam was like, how was your podcast? Yeah, fine. It was, it ran long, but it sometimes does. It's one of those things. Podcasts sometimes run long. She was like, oh, I heard you at some point. I was like, oh, that's unusual. She's like, yeah, what was going on? Like, what do you mean? She's like, what were you talking about? And I was like, oh, was it the bit where I was talking about that particular thing? She was like, yeah. You can't say that on a podcast. Like, why not? She was like, you went on a 5-minute tirade about a particular subject, and you can't say those things. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? It's okay. She's like, it's really not. Like, and when somebody says something and almost immediately you go, shit. Got a little caught up in the moment. I've been planning something for the entire day. I thought it was darned funny, but as we know from experience, when I think that something's funny, it's usually horrifically offensive. At this point in time, I will say it wasn't racist, it wasn't sexist, it wasn't homophobic, it wasn't any of those things. It was just me going a little bit too far with an opinion. Now, the reason I say both these things will have happened is that tomorrow I am due to record another one of these podcasts, and for what is potentially the first time in CookieCast history, I will be issuing an apology. Some of you multiple podcast listeners may have worked out which one I'm talking about by the time scale of things, and if you haven't worked out, it's a little game for you to play. Try and work out when it was that I absolutely went ballistic on a podcast and then a week later had to apologise for it. If I'm honest, I actually thought about going back and editing the section out even after it had uploaded. But I was like, it's done now. The deed is done. I'm not saying it's definite, but it could account for the lost subscribers. So, yeah, there's that. We shall see. Rewind. So, rewind back to going to the beach. Why, I hear you ask? I thought that was done with. It was. So, let's talk about when I thought I was dying. The night of the day when we went to the beach, I got into bed and I was feeling like hammered shit. This has been a common theme recently. And more recently, I've been doing the old, well, you are old now. You've always expected this day would come. One day you'll feel unwell, and that'll be that. And it's been one of those things, as I'm sure anybody that's listened for more than 5 minutes will know. Recently, over the last few years, there's been this overriding feeling of, this fear of death. So anytime anything comes up, like a twinge or anything, I'm dying. So I went to sleep thinking, this could be it. This could be the end. Not in like I'm going to die in my sleep, but like this could be the start of things. And that was that. I went to bed. I went to sleep. For a little while, less than 2 hours later, I was woken up to be informed that my eldest was in the bathroom. Because, no, rewind. I was woken up to be informed that my eldest was there to tell us, that she didn't feel very well. And I went, oh, that's funny, I didn't feel very well when I went to bed. I was like, oh, what kind of unwell? I feel sick. Oh, okay. Do you think you're going to be sick? Yeah. Oh, okay. Like each of these things brings you more and more out of your slumber. I think within 30 seconds to a minute of that, she was in the bathroom throwing up. Now, it's one of those things. I can override a lot of stuff for my children. It's just one of those things. I'm not saying it's anything special, but as a parent, I can override a lot of things for my children. One of the things that I struggle to deal with is the sick, and it's increasingly difficult to deal with the sick when you yourself feel sick. So I'm like trying to deal with it. I'm like, okay, let's try and wash the sick away. So turn the tap on. So this went on for a little while, and I'm like, okay, the sick isn't. I'm really sorry. This probably doesn't sound very nice. I was like, the sick's not going anywhere. Cool. Lan's like, you're not going to be able to wash it away. You need to wipe it and get rid of it. I'm like, I can't do that right now because I feel sick. So Leanne was like, fine, I will go and deal with this. So off she goes, she deals with the sick. I was like, cool, cheers. Can everybody get out of the bathroom? Because I'm going to be sick. At which point I throw up. A lot. Again, I apologise. It's going to get less graphic as time goes on. So I'm like, right, okay. I said to my eldest, do you feel any better? She said a little bit, but not 100%. I was like, okay, what do you want to do? I don't think I can go back to bed because I don't want to be too far away from the toilet. I'm like, right. Go and get your duvet, go and get your pillow. Let's get you downstairs on the sofa. We'll get you a sick ball. You know the deal as a parent. So we go downstairs. I'm like, there's a sick ball. Try and get in the sick ball. I was like, I'll sit with you for a little while. See how we get on. I think within an hour of that, Leanne comes into the room. The middle daughter is up. Can anyone guess why? Yes, that's right. She was also being sick. So then ensued I don't know what you'd call it, a buddy system, what's that thing? A relay race? That's it, a relay race. Where I this is no word of a lie. For the next next 6 hours, every 3 minutes, somebody was either being sick or going to the toilet. Now, luckily and I say luckily with the loosest possible term, luckily for them two, they didn't seem to have any issues toilet-wise. I did, and I had the sickness. They managed to basically run a relay race. They were taking it in turns, and I would just backwards and forwards to the toilet, sick bowl, backwards and forwards to the toilet, sick bowl, backwards and forwards. If one of them wasn't being sick, the other one was. If they weren't being sick, I was either in the toilet or being sick myself. This went on, like I say, for 6 hours, at which point everyone else got up. And then it continued for the rest of the day. I was still unwell for another day. My middle daughter got to the point where she stopped being sick, and she was then also at a point where she was able to hold water down, which was, well done to her. I made it until... So this was Thursday night, Friday morning. I made it to yesterday, which was Sunday, still unwell. Absolute insanity. It's amazing when you're ill how your mind casts back to every time you've ever been ill in your life, and then you have that like clarity. I can hands down say in a rating system it was probably the worst. Anyway, let's go off that subject on something else. My youngest daughter had a birthday party to go to. This was one of these things. It was on Saturday. Now, if anybody can remember 30 seconds ago when I said how long I was sick for, I had to do the old, okay, let's do this kind of thing and go to a birthday party with everything crossed. In more ways than one, let's say. It was an interesting setup. It was at a working men's club, but they had a bouncy castle indoors. It's like, I can safely say I don't think I've ever seen this before. But it's also genius. Like, why has nobody ever thought of this? Like if you're worried about the weather and you've got a big enough space, put the bouncy castle inside. I was like, this is genius. Yet again, another one of those scenarios where my youngest daughter showed her going to nursery experience, and I think she'd been there 3 minutes before she made a friend, and was still playing with the same friend by the time we were leaving. And it wasn't the person whose party she'd gone to. And it wasn't a relative of the person whose party we'd gone to. Just a completely random child. Couple of points through the party where I was a bit like, where did you say the toilets were again? Just in case. But I can say with authority that I made it the 2 hours that the party was, and there we go. So, remember a little while ago I talked about buying an expensive item. I have again dabbled in the buying expensive items arena, and bought an expensive item. And that was that. And then I had like 2 solid days of things being really shit. Weirdly enough, can anybody guess which the first day was? Yes, the day of being sick was day 1. And just absolute outside of that, it was like one of those days where absolutely everything was going wrong. Just, one of those things where you drop something on the floor and then you pick it up to put it in the bin and you drop it on the floor again, and then you pick it up to put it in the bin and you drop it on the floor again, and you're just like, the actual fuck is going on here? And after a while, I was like, this is karma. This is karma for buying ridiculously expensive things that you may or may not actually need. And what's more, a healthy dose of karma on top of this would be that you end up hating the expensive things that you've bought for a multitude of different reasons. For example, you buy one expensive item and it doesn't really fit the bill. Okay, well, you make the best of a bad situation. There we go. You follow that up by buying another expensive item that works the way it's supposed to for about 12 hours and then does what all things like this do with me and just goes, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, okay, well, maybe that's not the worst thing. Oh, okay. How about those other things that I'm supposed to be able to do? Do you like those features? Yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, I don't do those either now. So I bought an expensive item to do a multitude of different things. And the expensive item went, I can do those things for you for the next 12 hours. And then after that, I'm never doing them again. What do you think to that, dumbass? And in every other situation, scenario, or whatever, I'd be like, well, this is fucking bullshit. This needs to go back. And in fact, you can all fuck off. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna throw it at the person that gave it to me and tell them they can ram it up their ass. But instead, I've gone, do you know what? This is fucking karma, this is. So, suck it up, big man. You're gonna live with it. You're going to live with every single time you go to use this item and it doesn't do the thing you want it to do. There. That's the karma. Every time. Every time. Finally, for the week, I don't know if I'd already mentioned, I think I'd already mentioned the building work is complete. Now I know what you're thinking. Are you recording this podcast in the new podcast studio? Hell no. There's a lot of work left to be done. And if I have already mentioned this, and I have already said that there's a lot of work left to be done, guess what? There's still a lot of work left to be done. I think of all of the things through this entire process, my absolute number one favoritist thing of all is that the building work is finished. And although there is still a lot of work to do, I can be comforted by the fact that nothing that is supposed to go in that space is going to fit. And no matter how many different ways I play a weird version of Tetris with a piece of paper with tiny other pieces of paper cut out to resemble the size and shapes of the items that need to go in that space, no matter how many times I do that, I cannot get the items to fit in the space. I am comforted in the knowledge that Nothing fits. So, dear listener or reader, now what am I supposed to do? This isn't a joke. This isn't. I'm not being facetious. I don't know if I've used that word right. Nothing fits. Number one, top of the agenda was the last thing I wanted was to be in a worse position, and the last thing I wanted was to end up with spaces, plural, that were unusable. And the first and top of the list thing that we have ended up with is unusable spaces. So there you go. That's kind of that. Super fun. I love it. I really love it. Anyway, it's enough about all of that nonsense. Entertainment-wise, like I said at the top of the podcast, entertainment-wise, I've got almost nothing. What I have got for you is I watched the entire series 4 of Rust to Riches on Netflix. Yes, I've watched the other 3 series, and I'm sure that I have reviewed them. I am almost definitely going to review them. This series exactly the same. It's probably no surprise at this point in time, no secret. I really enjoy the car shows. What was Gas Monkey called? Fast and Loud. Rust to Riches. What's the other one called? Rust Valley Restorers. I used to be a big fan of what was the Orange County Chopper one? American. Can't remember. Pimp My Ride. What's the other one? What was the main one? West Coast Customs. Was that it? All of them sort of things. You take a rusty old car and turn it into an absolute monster. Cool. Rust to Riches is the Gotham Garage Series 4, like I said. Same review as always. I really wish they'd take the reality TV show aspect out of it. I'm not here for that, and I don't know who is. I know these shows are American, and I know that Americans love that sort of stuff, but I don't necessarily know if the people who are watching these programs are here for that aspect. I might be wrong, but I'm not. I wish they'd take that out of it. Couple of other things. There was 2 builds. One was turning, is it a slingshot? I think it is. Into something else. They wanted to make it look like a muscle car. When it was finished, I was like, that bonnet doesn't look like it lines up at all. And there was another one where they put these light bars on the front of a truck, and when it was moving, one of the light bars was bouncing up and down. I was like, that's super noticeable. And it just gave this sort of air of these vehicles probably don't look that great up close. I get the custom aspect, but I always get the feeling where like custom vehicles are concerned that they're like super meticulous because of the custom aspect. So yeah, there's a couple of like glaringly obvious issues with some of the builds in this season. Still super fun to enjoy, to watch. I absolutely binged the hell out of it. I watched the entire series in 2 or 3 days. One thing's for sure, anything like that, I'm absolutely binging it. I have watched a film. I watched a few films, but some of them I don't think anybody's going to be really interested in. So I decided to cut it down to a film that somebody might actually be interested in. Finally got around to watching the film Don't Look Up. Holy shitballs. What a terrifying movie that is. I know I'm late to the party and I know everybody's already been through this, but it's so horribly hit the nail on the head. For anybody who doesn't know, the premise of the film is that somebody discovers that a comet is gonna hit Earth and wipe Earth out, and it's kind of how nobody really cares. It's all very much social media. It's all very much the media. It's all very much about the president is not the actual president, but the president is featured a lot. Very interestingly, it's basically taken real life and moved 1 degree past it. So, not wanting to spoil anything and not wanting to sort of give anything away, that kind of thing. But the president is very much somebody that people would recognise, but they've changed one thing about them. And that's basically how it runs throughout. Like, there's like a character that comes into it and is like, oh, well, that character is clearly this real person, but they've changed one thing about the character to make sure that it's not that person. It's absolutely terrifying. Admittedly, it's a I think what we landed on was it was a serious comedy. Yeah, it was funny where you'd want it to be. It was just terrifying. I think I was traumatized by the end of it. I was just like, that is exactly 100% what would happen in that scenario. If a comet was coming to Earth now, that is what would happen. Terrifying. Fantastic film. It was really good. It was another one of those. It was like 2.5 hours long and did not feel like it. It absolutely fantastic. The people in it are phenomenal. Leonardo DiCaprio is great. It just really good, while simultaneously being absolutely terrifying. It traumatized me. One of those things, I haven't played any computer games. Not strictly true. I've dabbled a little in the last day or so. Not a game that I'm really wanting to talk about. But what I am going to talk about is this. I've been really struggling to get any kind of traction with any kind of game at the moment. I can't find a game I want to play. I can't find a genre of game I want to play. I can't find anything that I actually want to dedicate my time to as far as games are concerned. Because of that, I then ended up in this scenario where I was like, why is this? Why do I feel this way? As a gamer, and as a lot of gamers I know feel the same, you get what's called like gamer's slump. Gamer's slump is where you just don't want to play games at that moment in time. And it can last a little while, and it can last longer than a little while. And then eventually something comes along and you're like, cool, I'll play that. This felt different. And I wanted to understand it a little bit better. Now, oh Jesus, I can never fit in this space. Oh, if only you had a new podcast studio you could use. I'm just going to very quickly Google something. Just so I can talk about it properly. Because I'm guessing it was 2013. Of course you're not going to give me a date. No, it was released 20th of August 2013. So, As we know, I played Splinter Cell Blacklist. And I loved it. I absolutely, thoroughly enjoyed it. That game is nearly, to the day, nearly 9 years old. And it was hands down better in pretty much every way than anything that comes out these days. And that's the problem. Not to mention that there are no games, we've got all these next-gen consoles and fuck all to play on them. But a game that was 9 years old gave me absolutely everything I was looking for at that point in time. I played that game 3 times back to back because I was enjoying it so much. I just wanted to play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. And then when I got to the point where I was like, I don't really want to play this anymore, there was nothing that came anywhere near close to it. It's 9 years old. It's 3 generations old. What the fuck is going on? Almost in some kind of don't look up scenario. Is this, I know I've said this before, I know I keep saying this, but is this what we signed up for as gamers? No games, remasters, remakes, re-releases, and no games. I was about to say, I don't think I can tell you the last next-gen game that came out, but I can. It was Sniper Elite 5. I bought it, I played it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was ages ago. It could be months ago that game came out. Kind of want to Google it now to find out. Anyway, it's a really depressing thing as a gamer. It could possibly be the hands down the worst point in time for gaming. And I feel like I say that a lot. If you're a gamer, ask yourself this. When was the last truly fantastic game you played? And was it this generation? There we go. That's it. That's it for this one. I'm going to catch you guys later. Bye. So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another one gone. Big thank you for listening along. And a big thank you if you're a returning fan. And a big thank you if you're a new fan. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop any reviews you might fancy reviewing. And you can also check out our website, thecookiecast.com. We've got social media links and an email button so that you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye and I'll see you then.